the science of everything, I really was not happy where I was in it. Because I was completely miserable. I love science a lot, love math a lot, but I was completely miserable. So one day, I go up to my parents and say, I dropped out of school, I quit all my jobs, and I hate to inform you, but I'm getting in my car, and I'm going to drive across the country. I'll be back in 3 months and see you later. They were not happy at all. And that's how I ended up down here, is because I drove around the country, and then I got here, my best friend he just bought this house. And it was completely dilapidated, it was burned out, and he was rebuilding it, and I came in and helped him rebuild it as well. So I moved down here, lived in that house we built. I've been there ever since. And the reason why I moved in is because I wanted to do something. I wanted to learn who I was, because I had absolutely no idea who I was. I was really good at some things, like math and science. So I needed to figure out, why am I not happy doing math and science if I'm really good at it? And I found out because I really love to do art. And I had to prove to my parents that I was really good at it. And so I just went all in on something, and I made this thing right here. This is called Civilization's First Circumference. It was exhibited, when I first showed it, I showed it at Charlotte Art League, and McColl Center for Visual Arts saw it and picked it right up. To give you an idea of what it's about, it's actually 10 feet tall, 7.5 feet wide, and it's drawn with pen. It took me 9 months to do it. And what it's about is one day I was sitting down watching TV. This is back in 2005 when the Iraq War was going on. And the Iraq War was not looking very good for us because the insurgency was going really and things were dying left and right. And I sort of thought about it, Iraq is where Mesopotamia used to be. That's the cradle of civilization. That's all started out for us. The United States, we're the last civilization for human beings to make it. I mean, this is the last point. So it seemed as though to me that we want the last civilization in America went all the way to the beginning in Iraq, Mesopotamia. And I wanted to show that. And I wanted to try to symbolize what that actually meant. And so I started to do this. So I started to combine Western culture and Eastern culture together and try to use symbolism of the actual, of a new beginning for mankind, new beginning for our civilization, because we finally met together. And so it has a lot of different Eastern symbolism, like the tree, its bark actually resembles a Persian rug. And I want to draw like a new tree of life, one that's different tree of knowledge, tree of life, sort of a new beginning. And you have like the angels rising out of the ground and everything. Not only that, but there's a star pattern in the background. You can see in this slide. And that's the actual constellation pattern of the night sky on the 4th of July. So when you look up the 4th of July, this is exactly what the night sky, the starlight would look like. Because I want to show that American Da Vinci Code on it and everything. So if you were to actually project that graph back on there, you get exactly 1,776 squares for 1776. So I put all these different weird things in everything. But at the same time, since I still have that science mind and mathematical mind, you can be very analytical with everything. So I started to analyze the words that we use, the actual lexis of all the words that we use, because I was studying more about art, because I wanted to learn more about art. And as I read the books, I was like, these words are terrible words. These are just these make absolutely no sense. Because I'm used to reading very structured stuff like chemistry. It's like the most boring sentences you can ever construct. Ever. But to me, they make perfect sense. Like, oh, I love these words. So when I'm reading something that's creative, I'm like, oh, this is flowy. And so, but one word they kept using was creativity, and I was like, I didn't understand, why are they using the word creativity? Because it just in my mind it didn't work. And I started to realize that if you actually look at the lexis that exists in that word, we kind of over-branded it. We branded too much. And so I think when we hear the word creativity, we actually hear it like this. So I think creativity is a bad word to be using, so I don't use the word creativity. Instead, I use the word imagination. And the reason why I would use the word imagination is because it really changes the whole structure of the sentence. All right, take this for example. I want to teach creativity in school. How do we teach creativity in school? That sounds like a weird sentence. That's like you're hitting a roadblock. It's like, how do you do that? Change it. How do you teach imagination? We don't teach imagination. We already have imagination. In fact, I think it's so prevalent, and in a minute here I'm going to show you how easy it is for imagination to exist, and creativity to be confused by both branding. So when it comes down to that word, I think imagination is a much better word because it's not branded at all. It's not, we don't use it. And I really like the idea when McColl said that we're all born artists. The problem is to remain an artist as we get older. And it's so true. And in fact, I think it's so true that you really don't even have to think to be creative. And the way I try to do this with art is that I try to use randomness. And I made these paintings. And these paintings, they make themselves. I don't paint them. The chemicals paint them. It's completely random. Because when I did chemical research, we were working in nanochemical research. We're working at a very, very small level. And we were approaching scales in which we had to really pay attention to the electron. Because the chemistry really depends on the electron. But when you get really, 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 really small, because we're trying to make a catalyst, you get really, really small, the electron gets harder and harder to predict where it is. And so quantum mechanics comes into play, and all of a sudden you're dealing with randomness, which the human mind is terrible at. In fact, when we look at something random, we imagine something, we just think it up. And so I started making these paintings in which they are completely made random, and so you can actually see different things inside the paintings themselves. Like a lot of people, when I was showing these, thought this is like a spiral galaxy. And a lot of people, as they look more and more into it, they started to see things like faces and images and everything. But it's completely random. So their mind is actually creating an image. So when it comes to actual creativity, imagination, essentially, Picasso is right. We're all born with it. And it always sticks around. So we're always capable of imagining, using our imagination, using our creativity, it automatically happens. And this is a spiral galaxy. People when they saw this, number one thing, I kept track of all this. The first thing they thought about, they saw this. The first image they saw in it, they saw the American flag.
Yeah.
Pops right out, I say. But that's the thing. Like they'll create it instantly in their head because they had to make a pattern. Our brains instantly make patterns. They can't deal with randomness. They don't like it, they don't want it, it's never going to want it, so they just make it up. What do you think that looks like? Skull, face, this type of thing. But at the same time, it's completely random. It's not determined by me or anybody else. The chemistry makes it. We just sort of create this image instantly when we see it. And when there sort of has a parasite feel or whatever. I zoomed in on it for this next slide because I had a lot of kids coming through the McColl Center. They said they saw seashells inside the thing. So that was the thing that they thought was seashells in it. And there's another one. A lot of people said that looks like spines or whatever. But the element of trying to capture these paintings is that when people look at it and trying to prove that we are all creative no matter what, it's just that we have branded creativity in such a terrible way that we're just not approaching it correctly. So, imagination, I'm trying to stimulate the imagination. If your imagination will automatically take over instantly, you just gotta let it. And it's like, because the other thing, as an artist, I have to deal with all the time is being original. Being original, that's another bad word to use, because they use it all the time when you're reading this stuff. Original this, original that. Like, what does that even mean, original? And again, this is what we did. We overbranded original. We just can't stop that overbranded. We love it, And so I decided, okay, terrible word, don't use it anymore. I decided to use the word invent. Mainly because it just makes more sense. For example, for screen print, you can say this: I want to be original with screen print. Okay? Immediately, brick wall. It's not going to like original. How am I going to do that? It's not. It's too difficult. Now change it around. I want to invent something for screen printing. That makes sense, and that's what I did. I invented a new type of ink. This ink is not an ink at all. It's actually a chemical cocktail, and it's these chemicals. So when I take the photograph, develop it onto a silk screen, and I screen print on these chemicals. There's actually one chemical. Well, it's not one chemical. It's actually one cocktail of chemicals. And what I do is I heat it, and then it'll instantly char the image in the wood. And actually, I'm filing for a patent for this stuff. That's what I mean by invent. It's actually changed the whole paradigm for stuff. And you can really take any image I want. This is from my backyard. We have a pool, and it's empty because we neglected it, or because we don't want to spend the money on this really cool. I'm too lazy. I don't take care of it. And so it's empty, and so I can stand down and let this concrete thing. But I always like to take like images and just use like advertising knowledge and stuff that I know, and just sort of do some of these different images to come up with something that just sort of just messes around. This one I'm trying to make a sad sunflower or something, whatever. And then we're trying to be more. These are all still life photographs, so we set this up. I call this one a holiday because I have all these things around my house and I just put them together. And it's like I want to have a party, just like get drunk right now, don't have much people over because I felt like celebrating something because it just looked like a holiday, tell us something. And then there's this one, this more stuff just laying around my house. And this one's up blocks. But again, just invent new stuff. It's a lot easier to just change around because now it's original with screen printing. The original number, I can actually file a patent on something I made. And the thing after this was bubbles, because I used to be a drawing artist, as I showed before. And the thing about drawing is that the way to practice drawing is that you try to draw bubbles. And you can get really good at drawing really fast because you're going to go through the biggest stress you've ever get to trying to draw a bubble. So I was like, wait a minute, I don't want to draw bubbles. I'm going to find a way to make these happen. Mm-hmm. And so, since I have a background in chemistry, I found that if I took, find pigment, something back as a pigment that's at the nanoscale, very small, it could actually put inside a bubble solution and just sort of float around in it. If you have something very heavy, like a pigment, like paint, that's micro, it's too big, and it falls into the nano, very small, very light, floats around in it. So you capture the iridescent patterns of bubbles as it's below the bubbles and it's laying right on the neck. That's it, they got finished that. And then what surprised me the most is that I can actually stencil around, and then I can actually just have the bubbles just sort of look like, you make these different stencils, so the envelope bubbles. That's my first self-portrait I ever did. And then I finally figured out how to do it with color. It's kind of hard to see it. The reason why color was so difficult is it's a little bit dry, and I couldn't conceal it. That became a problem. But now I'm just getting this sort of color explosion of everything. And that's just sort of the thing with like now, as I took like these 5 years off to kind of discover myself, what I found was actually I was in tune. I had to find my harmony, my tune. It's just like if you tune a guitar, it's out of tune, it's all messed up. But like our society's sort of like a guitar. I had to find my tune for it so I could harmonize with it and everything. And now I can see like where I'm starting to go, how I want to develop my things, and just what I want to do. And especially with the bubbles, it's like the thing I want to do it for now is like children love them and everybody loves them. So I actually want to start this like non-profit organization where children, I go to hospitals and children can actually make this artwork, and this artwork can be not only therapeutic to them, but can be sold to raise money for the different charities that it's affecting their lives. They had a loved one that died. Let's make some art. See if we can get it out there and have some people sell it off tax money. But that's that. That's all I have to say. I hope you guys enjoyed it.